Cafe anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's Mike Matthews. This is FF episode 2053-2053. Welcome to Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro
Mike's Daily Podcast
Valley, where it's starting to finally cool off after a couple of days. I am enjoying this approaching haze of cool air and fog coming from the beaches and going inland and cooling us down, and it's like a migration. It's like a migration, like people migrating. They're leaving the big cities.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We hear that all the dang time, right? Right? Oh my gosh. I don't want to be one of those people
Mike's
that says right
Daily,
because then that makes me sound
Podcast
like I'm under 40.
Yeah.
And I ain't. I don't say right. I try not to, and I hate doing it. Don't do it. Stop doing it. That's all I'm asking. Hey, so people are leaving the big cities and heading towards the small towns. Why? Or smaller cities. Or more, I don't know, friendlier to families cities. And that can be so nice. So nice. I did that about 11 years ago. I left, well, Ventura wasn't that big of a city. I guess it was kind of a city. It was California. California feels like one big city sometimes. A megalopolis. So I go to Alabama, where it's very friendly. And there's a huge, like, the elementary schools are gigantic. And in Huntsville, Alabama, where I was, everything was named after astronauts. Grissom High School, John Glenn Elementary, because that's where they had the Redstone rockets. And they tested those to send us up into orbit, which was the name of a previous podcast that I did not too long ago. But I guess it's up to you if you want to be in a small town or in the big city where there's lots to do, except...
And here's today's podcast picture.
There's lots of drama as of late. Even in Huntsville, Alabama, I talked to someone that lives in Huntsville, Alabama, where I used to live. And the podcast picture is not from Huntsville. It's actually from Podcastro Valley, from Lake Chabot recently. I was there. There's a nice sunset happening. This is the east side of Lake Chabot, where we saw a deer. But the deer is not in the picture. Just the deer is implied. So you can see that at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And yes, today, Basil, who's going to bark for us, he strained his throat somehow. He was trying to clear his throat. This is what happens when you become old and you're a dog. He strained his throat and basically needed us to... It's okay. I don't know what he... I can't tell. It's just the old dog thing. He was trying to clear his throat, and he's getting old. He's getting up there, and boxers, they weren't built to last, sadly. I'm going to miss him when he's gone. But he's recuperated. He's fine now. It was just earlier today, about the time I was going to do this podcast. So we cooled him down, gave him some fluids. It's a thing. As your dog gets older, stuff happens. Cats too. Pets in general. People in general. So, moving out of the big city, it has its benefits. It's cheaper. The rent's not as expensive. Nowadays, and the unemployment is through the roof in the big cities. Of course, we've had riots recently. And then a lot of people can move out of the big city into the suburbs and still work for their job. They can telecommute. I have been doing that lately for my job. And actually, it wasn't something I think that a lot of us thought I was going to be able to do with my job. But I got really into... Well, the company let me remote work. I've been able to access my computer at work and do all the stuff I need to do. Makes it... I mean, I will be going into work in the next couple of days. There'll be stuff I need to do. But a lot of stuff I can do from home. So... To sum up, It's the way of the world, the way it's going. And people don't need to be right there. Twitter, at one point, had basically taken over all these downtown buildings in San Francisco. And now people are, like the company told everyone to work from home. So it costs too much, expensive. It's crazy expensive. And BART is ridiculous. People are getting 90% drop in the amount of riders on BART. 90%. I'm not shocked that I'm shocked that that's not 99%. It was the last time I was on it was just as the pandemic hit. And I think I told you this story. I was in a car all by myself and I loved it. And then out of nowhere, there's a guy like just a few feet away from me. And he wants me to give him my magazine. And I'm reading one of these basically junk mail magazines they send to you. If you're in a house, they'll send you this house mag, I think is what it's called. And it's got it's basically wall-to-wall ads. It's ridiculously, like everybody in this is someone that's going to overcharge you. And I go, okay, and I give it to him. And then he wanted to shake my hand, and I go, have you been hearing what's going on? You really can't touch another person's hand. And thank you, goodbye. And he went to another part of the car and read the magazine, and I got off at the next stop, thankfully. There are the odd people on BART. But we all gotta love each other, right? We all gotta, there by the grace of God go I. And, be compassionate. But after a while, riding BART really gets on your nerves because you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have the patience for this today. But you know what? I haven't been on BART in so long. I've got the patience. I've got it all. I've restored my storage. My patient storage unit is full of patience and ready for riding BART again, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Somewhere outside of Podcastro Valley, outside of Cafe Anyways, where we are, in Podcastro Valley somewhere, the last place on earth. And it's Mike's Daily Podcast. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if BART can recover from this. At this point, it's not even worth riding because they've canceled so many trains. And you got to wait and wait and wait. And you're waiting out there on the... Oh, and this is... You know what? This is BART's own doing. Bay Area Rapid Transit, by the way. They make it so inhospitable, those stations. There is nothing comforting. It's just all concrete, and the benches are disgusting, and you don't want to sit on them. They're full of bird poop. They're full of just, the graffiti is out of control. It's just inhospitable, and you don't want to be there. I'm not looking forward to riding BART again. Oh, so here's what BART's got this plan going where they're going to somehow spray all the cars with this substance that disinfects any surface that the spray is supposed to go into everything. A disinfecting a coating disinfectant of some kind that goes on all the cars. Never mind the coronavirus. What's that doing to us is the question. But you probably won't be able to smell it because still people will smoke the hashish, the pot sheesh, the pot. It's lots of pot all over the BART. You smell it everywhere. So you're not going to even smell I don't know. It's going to be an interesting mix of smell of the marijuana and the Clorox mist, whatever they're using to kill the virus. Kill the virus, kill the virus. And then there is let's see, they got widespread human testing. Oh, that was phase 3. I talked about that last week. Any virus killer, a virus cure that they find I mean, people are basically, that got the money and do this investing and play this game, are investing in whatever company they think is going to come up with the cure for coronavirus, because that's going to be the jackpot, and that company's stock is going to go through the roof. So the thing is to actually get past that phase where the human testing, it's phase 3, and that's where after that they go, okay, you can start marketing this, you can start giving this to people. Interesting how this conversation, this podcast today hasn't touched anywhere on the of what's going on. There was the memorial today for George Floyd. I caught a little bit of Sharpton's speech and impassioned sermon, and wow. And I was talking to my lovely lady friend because she recently did a video for her job. She was doing an instructional video. She works in the psychology profession, and she wrote everything out ahead of time before doing the video and basically read from a script, memorized part of the script. And there's Al Sharpton just talking off the top of his head, basically. And we're going, wow, that's an amazing orator. And he said some amazing stuff. And that, maybe you've heard a clip or two from that. But let's see. Let's zip through some news real quick that apparently it took no time for countries under quarantine to see energy use plummet, and with it, pollution levels. But even as citizens of LA exuberantly posted photos of the Hollywood sign without smog for the first time in decades, climate scientists warned that the dramatic drop in emissions would do little, if anything, to slow the pace of global warming. Thank you, climate scientists, for being our buzzkill. And this comes to us via Buzzkill website. No, Bloomberg, actually. New measures of atmospheric carbon dioxide released today from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in La Jolla, California, near San Diego, confirm that prediction. Wonderful. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, however, is not a direct measure of industrial emissions. What's left in the air is slightly less than half of total emissions, with the rest drawn down by plants on land and the ocean itself. Make of that what you will. An asteroid, possibly as big as the Empire State Building, is going to zoom past the Earth. That is happening this Saturday. It will pass Earth at a safe distance. Oh, that's good. Information about it is listed on NASA's Center for Earth Object Studies, or CNEOS, website, which monitors close approaching objects to the Earth. Several objects are expected to fly through space near Earth this week. That is interesting. And they built a widget NASA has so stargazers can keep track of the asteroids that may appear in the night sky. And on a clear night, you'll be able to see that. Well, another reason why to move out of the city, so you can see things like this. Finally, it's a mental health guide to watching the news. You have a human right to decide how much is enough. Listen to your body. This is from Yahoo Life. Pay attention to the physiological changes you may experience as you tune into the nightly news or scroll through Twitter and Facebook. Dilating pupils, a racing heartbeat, sweaty palms, headaches, upset stomach, and aching back, shallow breath, or sped up speech can all be cues that you're feeling the effect of trauma. Have a mindfulness perspective, including saying to yourself, okay, I'm watching this news right now, and this may feel a little bit more upsetting than what I can handle, and I'm noticing it through those changes that I just pointed to, and now it's time for me to do something else. Be clear when you notice those signs, what they are. Label them, and then work toward understanding that this is temporary in terms of what you can do, and that you have a right to do something else. tuning into your body. Ask friends to share responsibility. Being honest with friends, family members, and neighbors is something that you should do. Asking them to be mindful about sharing information rather than bombarding social media feeds without any context. Yeah, that's something I'm noticing a lot of. Context. There's no context with social media stuff. Even on Yahoo, where I'm getting this from, Yahoo Life, they got all these news stories, and there's all headlines to grab you, and there's no, but you don't get the behind the story of it all. So we need to just set boundaries, as the other thing that mentions in this article. Muting certain accounts, switching off phone and email alerts, limiting screen time can also help someone avoid a constant stream of potentially triggering posts. Check in with your kids have discussions with them about what they're seeing, because they are seeing it through their smartphones and everything else. Don't ignore the mental turmoil. And acknowledge what's important. It's a human right to determine what's enough and what's too much. Okay, so let's say hi to some people outside a cafe anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor.
Hey, Chely.
Mike Matthews, I don't watch any news anymore.
Okay. That's good. You're just on this podcast, and that's important.
Yes, Mike Matthews.
You turned it all off. There was a Phil Collins song from his No Jacket Required album. Turn it off if you want to. Turn it off, it'll go away. Well, that's not exactly true. It won't go away. It's still going to be there. So, yeah, we should all deal with it, process it, but, give yourself time. Okay, because we all have to process this stuff. You can't run from it, but, digest it. It's a lot to digest, these big things, these big cataclysmic things in our lives. And look who else is out here. Hello, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yes, Mike, I believe that you should take everything with a grain of salt, and then don't eat a grain of salt, because that's bad for you. Mm-hmm. Yes, look out for too much sodium in your diet. And your back from hurt. If your back is hurting and your neck is hurting and your eyes twitching, maybe lay off the news. That's a good idea. And listen to Mike's Daily Podcast. And give me a call what you think about all this. 336MM Daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast will continue to try to be. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Stay safe. Have a wonderful evening and morning and day and whatever time of day you're listening to this. Thank you very, very much for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!